Hey everybody. So recently I started listening to the Percy Jackson audiobooks series again, and as much as I like this series, every time I listen to it, I'm violently reminded by all the things I dislike about it. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this series. I love listening to it. I think Jesse Bernstein has a really cool voice that fits the character really well.
Look, I didn't want to be a half-blood. If you're reading this because you think you might be one, my advice is close this book right now.
And he has an amazing quality about his voice that makes a grown man sound like a little boy.
When I was young, I nicknamed him Smelly Gabe. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. The guy reeked like moldy garlic pizza wrapped in gym shorts.
Now, most of what I'm going to be talking about today isn't necessarily a mistake, just things I don't like about it. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, just to be clear, I am talking about the audiobooks only, meaning I will not include any criticisms of the books themselves. Now that's out of the way. The first thing that I want to talk about is the use of ancient Greek. Now, the Percy Jackson books are based on ancient Greek mythology. I mean, obviously. It makes sense that the characters speak Greek, and given that speaking Greek is engraved into a demigod's brain in the fiction of this world, you would think that it would sound normal. Here is a clip of the first time ancient Greek is used in the books.
O zu kai aloi theoi, he yelled. It's right behind me. Didn't you tell her?
Now, I'm not an ancient Greek expert. I'm more of a Camp Jupiter guy myself, but I'm pretty sure that ancient Greece wasn't populated by emotionless robots. Greek is used as a replacement for swearing a lot of the time, this being a children's book. There's a moment where Annabeth tells Clarice to go to the crows. That's the direct translation. A more accurate interpretation would be go to hell, the crows being the birds that eat your corpse after you die. It's a pretty intense insult. This is what it sounds like.
Rete es Caracas.
Now, I will admit that ancient Greek probably would sound different from modern Greek. That's just how language works. They grow and change. And American demigod Greek probably would be different than Greek spoken in Greece. But if you think that it sounds natural, you've got fucking bees in your ears or something. But that's all I'm going to say about Greek. There are English sentences that also have a total. Hello there. I was just brewing some tea, obviously, because of my tea brewing outfit. Would you like some? What kind of tea, you ask? The piping hot kind. Percy Jackson's mother has just died. Now, I know whether or not she's actually dead is still under speculation, but her fate is irrelevant. What I'm concerned about is how Percy is feeling. I mean, can you imagine? First, your primary university's maths professor, your middle school math teacher turns into a demon and tries to kill you. You have to take a pen, turn it into a less mighty weapon, kill her. Then your best friend gaslights you into thinking you made it up. All that stress causes you to flunk out of school. Finally, once you leave that accursed place, you go on holiday, and the best friend knocks on your front door with a minotaur in tow, kidnaps you to Long Island of all places, and you have to watch as your mother dies. All that pain, rage, and emotion boiling up inside of you, and the only word you can think to say is,
No!
it's not exactly what I was expecting. There are two philosophies when it comes to audiobooks. One we can call narration, reading the words as naturally and as bluntly as possible. If done well, this allows the listener to attach their own interpretation to the words, as they would if they were the ones reading it. The other we can call acting, letting the events of the story dictate how you speak. If done well, this can allow the listener to become more engaged and immersed in the story. One side is not better than the other. In fact, all narrations have elements of both. The problem with this series is that it doesn't seem to know which one it wants to fall under. For the most part, it's a fun and engaging story. But when it comes to the more serious moments, it isn't willing to stray from that light-hearted tone, which leaves the emotional moments to sound a little hollow. This is a young adult book series, so it's understandable that you don't want it to get too dark. But let's listen to an excerpt from another YA series, The Hunger Games, by Suzanne Collins, narrated by Tatianna Maslaney.
No, Katniss, no, you can't go. Prim, let go, I say harshly, because this is upsetting me and I don't want to cry.
Okay, yes, comparing the Percy Jackson series and the Hunger Games series isn't exactly a one-for-one comparison. The two are very different in intended audience and tone. Then how about we listen to a clip from this one, Warriors Into the Wild by Erin Hunter, narrated by MacLeod Andrews.
He turned to the crowd of eager faces that surrounded him and summoned enough breath to declare, "Redtail is dead."
From my perspective, the only difference I can see is that the narrators actually care about what happens in the story, whereas Jesse Bernstein doesn't. Now, I'm not asking for perfection. I'm just asking for a little emotion. Tea's ready. Making choices as a narrator is very important. A good skill to have is the ability to say the same sentence in multiple different ways, oftentimes opening up a new meaning that the audience or even the author might not have seen. We've all heard the "I didn't crash your car" example. Ugh. And Jesse Bernstein uses this skill a lot. Some might say too much. And by some, I mean me. And by might, I mean definitely. There are many cases where a sentence just feels wrong. It almost gives me a sense of auditory uncanny valley. Like an alien who has listened to thousands of hours of human speech, but doesn't really know what the words actually mean. Okay, that might be a little harsh, but the point does still stand. Listen to the choice that he makes here.
Everywhere we turned, the Rocky Mountains seemed to be staring at me like a tidal wave about to crash into the city.
It sounds like he's about to launch into a list of things, but then he just doesn't. This is in contrast to the choice he makes here.
Karen was pulling us across a dark, oily river, swirling with bones, dead fish, and other stranger things.
He does launch into a list of things, but it didn't feel cohesive. There are many instances like this throughout the series. But a few weird stresses on a couple words isn't that big of a deal, right? Well, listen to the choice he makes here for a line said by Annabeth, a 12-year-old girl at the time.
She wouldn't meet my eyes. Please, I'm not into self-inflicted pain.
That is a weird line for a 12-year-old girl to be saying in general, Rick, but that choice that he made it sound so much worse than it could have. It seems like there wasn't much thought put into which character was speaking. This is noticeable when you listen to the character voices. Now, before we get into this, I do want to say that I don't think character voices are that important. They definitely can make an audiobook better, but they aren't necessary in order for it to be good. So why am I even talking about this? Well, when you listen to the series, you'll notice a lot of big choices when it comes to character voices. This makes sense. There are a lot of big, hideous monsters that need to have a goofy voice, so it makes it okay that Percy just slaughters them. I think Jesse Bernstein's ability to manipulate his voice was one of the main reasons he was cast, and he does a good job. His monster voices are charmingly silly.
I'm crusty. You mean hiding from those no-good kids? They hang around every night. I get a lot of people in here, thanks to them. Say, you want to look at a waterbed?
I am the greatest wrestler in the world, boy. I have been wrestling since the first Pancratian.
I hope so, Percy Jackson. I hope so.
But some of his human characters, or non-monster characters, give me that same sense of uncanny valley that I was talking about earlier. In an effort to make each character sound distinct, they started cutting corners on other aspects of narration. And this is when I started to figure it out. Oh shit. I'm out of tea. There we go. Oh, right. To help differentiate between all the different characters, there is also a changing in the speech pattern of the characters. This is an effective and popular tool, and it's used really well by the likes of Tatianna Maslaney in The Hunger Games.
Well, bravo, gushes Effie Trinket. That's the spirit of the games. She's pleased to finally have a district with a little action going on in it. What's your name? I swallow hard. Katniss Everdeen, I say. I bet my buttons that was your sister. Don't want her to steal all the glory, do we? Come on, everybody, let's give a big round of applause to our newest tribute, trills Effie Trinket.
Also, hopefully done pretty well by me. But in this narration, it just feels so rigid. Take Ares, for example. Listen to some of his lines back to back.
So you're old Seaweed's kid, huh? That's right, punk. I heard you broke Clarice's spear. Probably. That's cool. I don't fight my kids' fights, you know?
It all sounds the same. It feels like an NPC is speaking. There's a neutral emotion with very little variance away from it. These are very simple character stereotypes. This is really apparent when you hear some of the minor characters speak, the ones that only have a couple of lines throughout the series. Listen to the voice given to Annabeth's stepmother.
Honey, who are our guests? Frederick. You forgot to ask their names? All right, go on up to the study and I'll bring you some food. Nice meeting you, Percy. I've heard a lot about you.
Oh, that's not Jesse Bernstein. That's someone else. So they re-recorded Mrs. Chase's lines. Well, in order to find out why, I needed to do some digging. And I found another character whose lines they replaced. Chris Rodriguez.
You're an illusion, Mary. Get away. It's dark. 1,000 skulls. The earth keeps healing him. There's no way out, Mary. No way out. The son of Poseidon. He's horrible.
This was getting weird. So I needed to do some more digging, and I found another character whose lines they replaced. Ethan Nakamura.
Ethan Nakamura, I have to kill you. I have to prove myself. Only way to join up.
Get it over with. Don't be a fool. They'll just kill us both.
This was getting weirder, and in order to get to the bottom of this, I needed to do some more digging. And those were all the characters I could find. So I created a Venn diagram of those three characters and wrote everything that we know about them to see what can... I mean, it's racism, right? Is it racism? It's probably racism, right? Let's just see if we can find the original audio.
Honey, who are our guests? Frederick, you forgot to ask them their names? All right, go on up to the study and I'll bring you some food. Nice meeting you, Percy. I've heard a lot about you.
You're an illusion, Mary. Get away. It's dark. 1,000 skulls. The earth keeps healing him. There's no way out, Mary. No way out. The son of Poseidon. He's horrible. Ethan Nakamura. I have to kill you. I have to prove myself. Only way to join up. Get it over with. Don't be a fool. They'll just kill us both.
Okay, yeah, I see why they had to re-record it. I would like to point out that the only description we get of Mrs. Chase is that she's of Asian descent. And Chris and Ethan, at least, are demigods, born of gods that are living in America. They're presumably American. No real reason why they would have any accent. Alright, real me. No more YouTuber impressions. Boom, John Green. Good morning, Daniel. It's Tuesday. I do highly recommend listening to these audiobooks. For everything that I complained about in this video, there are 10 things that I really enjoyed about it. And Jesse Bernstein is a good narrator. A lot better than I could have done. And I don't know the process that went into creating these audiobooks, so I can't really blame any of these decisions on one specific person. Yeah, I don't really think it's the best idea, given how big the name Percy Jackson is and is becoming, to have racism veiled that thinly. So... the good thing is that we already have a precedent for what to do when a Percy Jackson series isn't really the best it can be, and that's just to remake it. Preferably not with Walker Scoble, although I couldn't be too upset. I honestly think they should just recast Jesse Bernstein, have him do it again. I mean, did you hear him in Chalice of the Gods? He was so good. Anyway, that's really all I have for you. If you made it this far in the video, I would appreciate a like. Also, you're more than welcome to subscribe, but just remember that this page is and always will be nonsense. Have the day you deserve.